He was the one who came to me first. He took my hands and invited me to I sit with him, face to face. Welcome. I was waiting for you. Me? If I don't know you? I do to you. But this is not important now. Hey, where are they? How did I get this far? That's not important now either. You'll know later. And who are you? Call me Isaiah. And even if you don't remember me now, we've known for a long time. And what relationship did you and I have? Consider me your older brother. I don't remember ever meeting you. This is not important now. Take advantage of your time to ask for important things. You didn't have any questions? Questions? What questions? Now you don't remember? Those profound questions you ask yourself. A long time and to which you have not met answer. How do you know? I've already told you I know you. I know your inner self well, which you ask without fear. Here you are, totally free. I feel disoriented. This place is so wonderful. I feel so much. Well here. It's so different from the normal world. I feel at peace, so full of, I don't know how to express it, so full of love. I don't know, because I've never felt this way in my life. Normal. It's your first time, your first conscious journey here in this life. But please take advantage of the time. Put to the discovered your deepest questions. I don't know where to start. Many times I feel empty, lonely, and misunderstood. Why does this happen to me? Normal, it happens to a lot of people. It's because you live in a world with a lot of poverty of love, where people turn their backs on each other. And it is true that one can feel alone in the world even if one has a lot of people around, because the feeling of loneliness originates from the non to feel loved by not being understood. Most of the people of your world have become accustomed to living like this without feeling in a state of inner loneliness with the absence of true love. Believe that you are alone because you have not yet become aware that you are all brothers and sisters who share the same destiny and who are in need of each other in order to be able to accomplish it. And what is the common destiny that we must fulfill? True happiness, which can be achieved through evolution in love. Love is the only thing that can fill the void inner. Is there anything that especially upsets you? The fundamental question, which constantly torments me, is, why do I exist? Why was I born? Have I come to do something? Why don't I know what I've come to do? You came to evolve. What do you mean by evolve? Evolve into what? The process of transforming egoism into love is what I call it evolution. To evolve means to learn to love. Tell me about evolution in love. But I don't see any love in this world. Why the suffering? 'Cause we live in a world like this full of contradictions, from the most beautiful to the most atrocious and destructive, hatred, wars, hunger, misery, and suffering. I can't understand the meaning of all this. It doesn't make any sense, and if I look for it, why don't I understand it? It makes sense to evolve. All those disasters you talk about have the same origin, the absence of love, let's call it selfishness. Just as the sum of each person's selfishness can make the world a hell as it happens today, in the same way when selfishness is transformed into love, the sum of the love of each person will turn the world into a paradise. It depends on the inner transformation from selfishness to love. And if achieve inner change, then what surrounds you, the world whole, will change accordingly. The physical world you are in now, it is there to help you experience this process of transformation. Like clay for a child who wants to learn how to model. I still don't understand. Evolution to what end, to where? Who? There is a point in all this effort if, at the end of the day, it all ends with the death. The evolution of each one towards a greater capacity to love, to feel and to know towards greater heights of happiness will never end. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense. And what do you mean by that? That the being never ceases to exist, that is, it is immortal. How can you say this if every day we observe how are thousands, millions of human beings dying? What dies is only the means that the being uses to manifest itself in the physical plane, that is, his physical body. its essence and its consciousness continue to exist. Do you say, then, that there is life after death? Yes. Actually, what I mean is that death does not exist. That decomposes is only the means that the spirit uses to manifest on the physical plane. And what is spirit? The spirit is the being that exists, that lives and feels. The spirit is where? It is the will and the individual consciousness that will not be destroyed. Never. You are a spirit. All of you humans are spirits, only you are bound to a material body during certain periods to be defined. Reincarnations. You think you are your physical body, but that is it. Just a dress that you need to be able to act in the world. Material. Let's see if I have understood correctly. The spirit, that is, the rest of us, can exist independently of the body? Yes, and that's what happens after death. The spirit separates completely from the physical body and continues to exist, living. And can't the spirit die? No, the spirit is immortal, can evolve, change for the better, or stagnate but never destroy itself. Yes, but what evidence do we have that there is life after the death of the body? Because, as far as I know, no one has come back to tell it. I'm sorry to contradict you, but this statement is not absolutely true. There are thousands of testimonials from people declared clinically dead and then resuscitated. Many of them, they remember that they have lived through certain experiences that are quite strong and real during the period of time when they were physically dead. And these experiences that they recount cannot be the result of a hallucination due to the critical state they were in. It must therefore be a collective hallucination in which everyone has put themselves. Agree to see the same thing, 'cause all these people, they are recounting the same experience. Well, sometimes I wonder if my own existence isn't a hallucination. To hallucinate, you need to exist. There is a maximum of a thinker of your world who says, I think, therefore I exist. I would add, I feel, therefore I exist. You may doubt the existence of others because it's not your experience. But there can be no doubt about that. That one himself experiences his own existence lived in the first person. He who has felt and felt this experience does not. He doubts it's real. And what is this supposed common story that is being told? Separation from the physical body and the view of one's own body from outside. The feeling of traveling through a dark tunnel, at the end of which a bright light can be seen. Meeting family and friends, previously missed. A dialogue with a luminous being. The retrospective view of one's own life, to the point of experimenting. A return to the body, with a consequent change in values. And a new perception of the phenomenon of death. Are people who stop being afraid of dying because they already have experienced that life goes on and that what comes next is much better than what they leave behind. Well, I think they are still subjective impressions. Analyzing them in isolation and superficially, it would be it is easy to discredit these testimonies. However, when a phenomenon repeats with such incredibly similar characteristics, regardless of country, culture, prior beliefs, in both adults and children, then I think it invites us at least to a serious study should be carried out on this. There are very serious and recognized in your world who have dedicated themselves to studying conscientiously the near-death experiences and to collect the testimonies of these people, as has done, among many others, the American psychiatrist and philosopher Raymond Moody or the doctor, pediatrician and neurology researcher Melvin Morse, who worked with children who have lived this type of experience. I recommend you to read his books, Life Beyond Life and Closer to the Light. It still seems to me to be an inconsistent, almost accidental basis, to be used as proof of the existence of a life after the death. Percentage-wise, there are few cases of clinical death and resuscitation. There are many more who die and do not return. There are many more testimonies of precisely people who are living the process of definitive separation of the body, which you want to call death, because during this process, many of them claim to see and talk to loved ones, deceased or with other luminous beings preparing them for the transition. In the afterlife, in almost every family, someone remembers a testimony of this kind which happened to some relatives already dead. However, they are usually believed to be hallucinations. It seems that when death approaches, everyone gets on their feet agree to have the identical hallucinations in different parts of the world. In addition, there have been many scholars, such as the prestigious psychiatrist Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, who dedicated themselves to investigating seriously this issue. I invite you to read his book, La Muerte un Amanecer. But all these are cases of people who, even if they have been close to each other, at death they are physically alive. There are also testimonies of people who contacted with non-embodied beings, most frequently with loved ones, recently missed, who take leave in very vivid dreams or with apparitions at the foot of the bed. This is a pretty case, frequent though less studied by investigators. Nevertheless, I believe that there should be more solid evidence, not only limited to the phase between life and death. There are mediums, sensitive people who have a more frequent and lasting with the spiritual world. This is even more difficult for me to believe. Don't believe it a priori, but study it, analyze the messages received. Because from the quality of the message you will know the author. And how can we know that this is not a fraud and that the alleged medium is pretending to be the deceased with whom he is? Think you're in touch? Fraud is always possible. However, as well as the existence of some people who counterfeit money does not imply that all money is fake. So the fact that some people pretend to be mediums doesn't. It implies that all mediums are imposters or profiteers. The best guarantee against fraud is that the medium is a person. Honesty in his daily life and who does not use his faculties for profit. There are many more people than you think with this type of sensitivity, which develops from childhood. However, because of the rejection and misunderstanding they normally receive, they tend to repress it, and the few who manage to develop it conveniently and to use it for the common good, discreetly, so as not to be an object of jokes and ill will that affect one's daily life. And why are some people mediums and others not? From what? Depends on. It depends on the evolutionary program of each spirit. Is it circumstance, that of being a medium, that one chooses and knows before reincarnation, and when used correctly it serves the possessor of this faculty to advance more rapidly in his evolution thanks to the help he lends to other people. It has a very close relationship with the actions that the spirit has carried out in other screw. You mean, then, that the spirit exists before it is born, and that it has lived other lives? Exactly. And in the present physical life, the circumstances and trials that spirit deals with are closely related to the decisions made in past physical lives and in the period between reincarnations, period not tied to a physical body. And what evidence do we have that there are anterior lives or a life before of birth? There are testimonies of people who have memories of past lives, which can be spontaneous, especially in children, or induced through regressive hypnosis. There is an extensive bibliography at regard. With respect to the memory in children, I recommend that you read the book by Ian Stevenson, a Canadian psychiatrist, who dedicates himself to the study of supposed cases of reincarnation in those young children that remember a previous life. He is currently studying more of 2,500 possible cases of reincarnation worldwide, has published more than 20 books and several articles in specialized journals of psychology and psychiatry. I recommend his book Reincarnation, 20 Cases in Support. And can't all this be a figment of the imagination? Assuming that there are cases that can be the result of of imagination or of some psychic alteration or other reasons, there are many others in which people remember very concrete details of past life that have been historically demonstrated. Remember places, facts, and names with great precision, many of which lived in countries where the person has never been in his or her current life. The most important cases, impressive, are those that refer to small children, who may also speak spontaneously in a language of their own, which they have never been exposed to in the present life, this being the language, a memory of some past life. Normally they are children between the ages of 2 and 4 who begin to talk to their parents or siblings of an existence lived in another place and another time. The child usually feels a very strong attraction to the facts of that life and frequently prays to his parents to leave him, return to the previous family to which they belonged. Well, kids have a lot of imagination. It's hard to give credibility to these testimonies. It is, therefore, a prodigious imagination because what imagine proves to be a reality. On the other hand, there are many cases of adults remembering previous lives when subjected to hypnotic regressions, and it cannot be that that supposedly remembered life is the fruit of. Is it a suggestion of one's own hypnosis? I'll say the same thing to you. Even if we admit that there are cases that they can be the result of imagination or any other reason, there are many others where people remember details a lot of the past life and which have been historically demonstrated. It is also interesting that many people who do not admit the existence of reincarnation as contrary to his beliefs religious, when subjected to regressive hypnosis, they remember facts of past lives. But all this requires serious and exhaustive in order to be able to separate the cases of suggestion from those that are a possible memory of another life. There are many serious scholars who are dedicated to exploring the possibility of the existence of prior lives through responses obtained from people subjected to hypnosis. Regressive, like psychologist Helen Wambach, author of the book Life Before Life, psychiatrist Brian Weiss and his book Many Lives, One Soul, or the aforementioned Raymond Moody with his book Coming Back. Everyone who has explored the answers to the questions asked under hypnosis to thousands of people about their possible lives before birth have recognized a number of common elements about these experiences and came to conclusions similar. And what are these conclusions? That physical life is nothing more than an instant of real life, that it does not, never ends, that the death of the body is not the end but a stage of transition to another, less limited existence, that all of us, we will reunite with the loved ones who passed on to the afterlife before us and that we will meet them again in later reincarnations. They tell us that there really is a project for each of us with the aim of make us grow both in wisdom and in love based on our merits through experimentation on the physical plane with freedom, that the circumstances faced in the course of life are not the result of the case but consequence of acts carried out in anterior lives, that before we already know the trials we will be subjected to during our life, and that we prepare ourselves conscientiously to try to overcome them successfully. To be continued. If you liked the video, leave a comment and a like and subscribe to the channel. Thank you, and see you in the next video.